Now, as obvious as that is, I still right now do not know where that crack is. Is it in the pickup line or is it in the cartridge? But then again, why would it change pitch and noise if the oil leak came out of the pickup line? Now, to this day, I don't know whether the oil leak is the actual cartridge having a problem or if it's the oil feed line, this hard line coming from your manifold up top. First thing I'm going to do is take off the intake tube. It comes from my air filter down into the intake of the turbo. Real simple how a turbocharger works. Exhaust spools up a turbine that's in here, spins a shaft through the cartridge, and that spins another shaft in here, which then pulls the air in, compresses it, and blows it up into the engine itself. On the other side, what you cannot see is a charge air cooler that's cooled by water, not the typical air-to-air that you see in most modern semi-trucks. This one is done with engine coolant. That was another thing I thought maybe was failing. I thought perhaps that I was pushing charge air into my radiator, and we ran a little test with that too. Turned out that wasn't the case. Oh wow, stiff as a bone. I mean, I could turn it, but it's stiff. Wow. Take that apart, I'll show you. Next, I'm going to take the intake snail off the truck. This is accomplished by backing off this clamp, which is actually getting a lot tighter nowadays. There's no hold down to up here. It just rests on this tube by two O-rings. Which, the last time I took this apart, it was an epic battle. I'm gonna have to take that top piece apart now. Son of a gun. It does get a little easier if I take the intake off of the air filter itself. This is just a shroud. It pulls air from on top of the radiator between the grill and the cab, directs it downward into this tube, then enters my air filter itself. We're going to remove it because I have to take the other side of the charge air off where this attaches to the charge air element. And now you can see an easier run. Air comes in, gets compressed, and gets shoved up into this manifold here. This manifold right here is your charge air manifold. Again, liquid cooled by your engine's coolant. I'm not going to pull these two all the way out because it keeps that cap on. I'm assuming that there used to be a Caterpillar with dual ones of these so you can hook a pipe between the two of them, like a V8 or who knows whatever they ever made in the 3400 series or other series for that matter. Now we'll just yeah, let's see. Let me try it from the other side. A womp with a dead blow hammer might make her a little more agreeable. Perfect. And now we'll take the whole thing off as an assembly. And now for you boys and girls curious about what it looks like in the charge air water manifold, let's go ahead and show it to you. And there you go. Again, slide this clamp off now. Hard to show it to you earlier, but turning this is very stiff. This is the direction it would turn, but it doesn't free spin. It just, and I had to break it loose. It didn't want to spin at all. See, it doesn't, as soon as you stop spinning, it comes to a quick stop. It should be a lot more loose. Next on our remove list is the oil feed line. This is just a collar, brings your oil pressure up and into your cartridge, and down below is just a gravity return back into your block. There's your intake. There's no damage to that gasket, so it's not the top gasket. Now that's pressurized. There's no damage there. I don't see any cracks or damage in the piece here. It doesn't mean it's not cracked elsewhere. I personally think the crack is in the cartridge. When I was in the Air Force, I used to work on fuel systems, and one of the things we had to do was a thing called leak path analysis. Now, if you look at the way this leaked and where the pressure appeared to land, it looks like the oil was coming up from this direction, hitting here, and air and gravity were pulling it across. Granted, the truck's rolling forward, so air's blowing this direction, and gravity pulled it down, as you can see in that replay of the oil leak. Then it gently wiped the gasket down. And I do not see a failed gasket. Now, what's difficult is it appears, now this is all wet here, all wet, dripping from here. There's a lot of clean here, but that also could be paint from when I painted this. Although I didn't paint the turbo, interestingly enough. Where did that leak come from? I'm thinking it's a crack, but I can't see the crack. Let's peel the gasket up. Okay, well, the gasket flips off. There's your gasket, no failure. Let's wipe that surface area down. I do not see a crack in any way or shape or form. I mean, there is one. I mean, that oil's coming out of something somewhere. And the turbo certainly suffered for it. Oh, wait. Oh, it's just part of the shadow, I think. See, I'm starting to think I see something, and then I don't. All right, well, let's go ahead and take it off, and we'll look at it on the fender. Now, this down here has no pressure to it. It's just a gravity feed. It literally just drips right down that tube. We are going to replace that O-ring. I do have a new one. If you ever had to change one of these on a road, believe me, it ain't fun. It's quite stiff. So far overall, I don't see any damage other than just a failed and stuck cartridge. Right now I'm taking this exhaust clamp off. This just gets the exhaust pipe off the Snail. Next we got to take the Snail off of the exhaust manifold. When I put these on, I torqued them properly. It's very difficult to do, but can be done. And I did use Never Seas. You know what? Get this out of here first. A little more working room. Wasn't so bad. I do have brand new bolts for this. And there we are. All right, boys and girls, so this is the intake snail. This is the part where your cartridge sits in here like so. We'll take that out. As you can see, the cartridge and how it spins. And that's the snail. I do notice these carbon marks in here. I don't think they've ever hit them. I don't know if it's part of the machining or what that is. You see, maybe I rubbed it. You see, you rub them off. I don't know. I don't know. What I do know is it pulls the air through here and then tries to squeeze it in this part here and then blows it out the tube. By the way, this is what's attached. This here is what's attached to the charge air cooler, and this just comes apart by 2 O-rings. We'll go ahead and monkey around with that later. And we have over here your oil feed line to the turbo itself. Again, I'm not seeing anything that will cause me reason or worry of failure here. I don't see any visible cracks. It's possible that this is cracked and I have a multi-part fail on here. But I don't see any cracks. I do have a new one of these, by the way. And then lastly, your cartridge. Now this piece, that gets locked into that exhaust snail the same. And again, what actually happens is this is spun in this direction, and then that spins your turbine on this side. Very self-explanatory, real simple. But again, I'm not finding any cracks or any... As soon as I think I see one, it's a shadow. So I don't know. I'm not going to spend all day and a half on it. We're just going to reassemble it and get my core money back. That's what I am going to worry about. Set this aside. Either way, boys and girls, these are the components to my turbo. We're going to go ahead and put them back together here shortly and get that ready and packaged up and take back to Caterpillar for the core charge. In the meantime, we do have one other thing to show you. Now, I probably should have filmed this, but I didn't. I welded a small little piece of C-channel to each side of this. This, I tried to even heat it with a torch to try to melt these O-rings, and it didn't come. So what I did was, I took some bolts and I threaded them into this piece here. I guess on some engines there'd be a hold-down bracket, but this one doesn't have one. So I threaded bolts in here and then twisted the tube so those brackets lined up over those holes. And then I used a box open end wrench and lifted those bolts out, and it pushed that right out. So now what I have is these little pieces welded to this charge pipe. That's not going to create any problems in the future, and that's obviously going to be a help for the next time I have to change a turbo or take this apart. Now for this side, I don't know. I don't have to do this side, I just got to do this side. Figure I'd show you this little fugazi stuff that sometimes I have to do. Now there might be a trick to it that I don't know, but that's my trick. Okay, time to put this all together. Alrighty. Okay, boys and girls, there we go.